Today we are going to take a look at my favorite tools of 2023. We're going to go through several categories, including my favorite scope, scanner, electrical testing tool, a repair tool, and of course lighting, because I am a light freak. They are the tools that I use day in, day out, and have a special place in my toolbox for the day-to-day battle against broken cars. That being said, let's jump right in. The first category that we are going to talk about are scopes. The ones we see here are the U scope from AES Wave, the MIG-SIG SATO 1004, the Top-Down scope, and last but definitely not least, the Pico scope 4425. The first scope that we're going to talk about is the U scope. It is a single channel scope and it is a powerful one, but it does have limited resolution. It's great for run and gun. It's a quick grab, and that would be my multimeter replacement, so to speak. In other words, instead of grabbing a multimeter, might as well just grab that single channel scope and start measuring. It can see things that multimeters can't, like pulse width modulated signals, CAN bus signals. But I have been caught with my pants down using the U scope due to its lack of resolution. Testing a wheel speed sensor on a Mercedes, it let me down. I couldn't see the signal. The next contender is the MIG-SIG SATO 1004. It is a 4-channel common ground scope. For those of you who don't know what common ground is, it is a scope that shares the ground across all 4 channels, but this one also shares the ground through the mains. So this MIG-SIG charges through a 12-volt port on its side, and when you hook up that 12-volt port to a battery, positive and negative, on a vehicle, it is using that ground for all the rest of the channels, which is quite convenient. Effectively, it allows you to only hook up the positive leads on each channel, saving time. It's got a rugged build, a great battery life. I mean, this thing can go on for days, and the fact that it takes 12 volts to charge means that I could leave it on a vehicle for parasitic draw on a maintainer during testing and not have to worry about the battery life. Where this really shines is when I'm using the MIG-SIG amp clamp, which powers off of the scope. During a parasitic draw, this essentially gives me a unlimited battery supply, which is pretty nice. I've got my clips hooked up over here, right, and my amp clamp after the battery, which means that these clips will have no effect on the draw. Sure, we see some spikes, but essentially the draw stays the same. Let's go ahead and hook that back up. We've got exactly the same draw. The company listens. They frequently update the tool, and that's always a nice touch. Some drawbacks are that there are no frequency waveforms without doing some math, and I'm no mathematician. Another bit of a drawback, although it is manageable, is that to get anything out of the MIG-SIG, such as screenshots, waveforms, or any other piece of data, you would have to hook up a USB drive to it and transfer it manually. On the bright side, this MIG-SIG was able to capture the signal off of the wheel speed sensor that the U-scope was not able to on that Mercedes that I mentioned earlier. Next up, we have the Top-Down scope, which is a lot like the MIG-SIG interface-wise. It does have a drawback. You have to hook it up to a scan tool, and they don't at the moment have a PC application for it, so you are limited to using it with your scan tool, which I guess could be a good thing as well. It is also a 4-channel scope with a shared ground, otherwise known as common ground. It also has a rugged design. It has all of the advantages and disadvantages that the MIG-SIG does. And another nice touch is that you can split screen this with the scan tool. So if you are needing to use both, you can do both. But it is not a standalone unit. And if you need to use your scanner on a different vehicle at the same time that you're scoping another vehicle, well, then you're pretty much screwed. Finally, the winner is the Pico Scope 4425. I don't have the 4425A yet, but I do pretty good with just the 4425. It is by far my favorite scope, and with good reason. It is a 4-channel scope, and it allows for independent ground connections, which means that I can conduct voltage drop testing on both a power and a ground circuit at the same time with minimal effort and with zero worry as to damaging the scope. It also has one-touch math presets like the crank feature. You can plot the frequency of a crank signal instantly. If I wanted to do the same thing on any of these other scopes, I would have to come up with a math equation in order to plot the frequency of any given waveform. It also has masks that you can set up in which when a threshold is exceeded, the scope will alert you, or whatever you program it to do. You can set it up to play a sound, to restart the capture, to save one buffer, to save all of the buffers, or trigger a signal generator, which even I haven't messed with. It hooks up to the PC or tablet, and if you have the correct accessories like I'm showing you now, you can hook it up in the same way that you would mount an e-scope, which is pretty convenient and modular. I can take it off of the tablet whenever I want to, and saving files or screenshots are effortless. I don't have to transfer the files over from one device to another. A nice touch is when you are using rulers, you can, as soon as you set them up, you are given an at-a-glance view of the RPM, whereas most other scopes require a little math in order to achieve the same result. Really not a big deal, but it sure is a nice touch. You can also create custom probes and aren't shackled to proprietary accessories. That is something that I found with other scopes, and one of the biggest reasons for why the Pico scope is my favorite is because you can grab a file, save a file, and send it off to a buddy, an instructor, a mentor, a teacher, anyone in the world at any time, and they can manipulate it and annotate it for you and correct you with it or teach you with it or whatever you want. They can manipulate it as they see fit and see details that you might not be able to see. And of course, one of my biggest favorites is the fact that you can add filtering after you capture the waveform. This is something that is not possible on many scopes, and it might even be a proprietary feature. But with the Pico scope, you can grab any nasty looking waveform and add some filtering, and as long as you know what you're doing, you can interpret it right and it'll look much cleaner. It'll get rid of excessive noise. It's a nice feature to have, and you are not strapped to the waveform that you took just because you didn't set it up beforehand correctly. The Pico scope can zoom incredibly. That is one of the main features that it has. It has incredible zooming capability. Next on our list are electrical testing tools, namely power probe tools. It does seem a little unfair since power probe has dominated the market concerning electrical testing tools. I don't own a ton of multimeters to compare, so instead I decided to stick to power probes. There is another tool that I reviewed in the past that would have made this list, but that tool is probably in a landfill right now. We'll start with this one. Although I don't own it, I've used it plenty of times, many times. That's exactly how I learned, actually. It is extremely basic. You got power, you have ground, and you can test a ground by giving it power and waiting for the circuit breaker to pop out. And it has a beep on or off button. It is as simple as it gets, but with that said, people still found a way to blow modules with it. So let's start with the hook. When this hook first came out, a lot of people had misconceptions about it. They thought that this hook did anything more than just simply hold it in place. So you can imagine that disappointment, and that says a lot about the market. This thing is jam-packed with features, and it is a crazy toss-up between these two as to which one is my favorite. It is so close. I don't know that I could decide. It is crazy close, but we'll go through each thing that I like and I don't like about each one. The most obvious one about this one is its size. A lot of people complain about it. It's probably one of the biggest reasons why it didn't have the success it should have had, in my opinion. This is a great tool, but due to first impressions, it got a bad rap for its size, when you can simply put a lead, an extension on there and not worry about the size of this thing. And the size is simply due to the amount of current this thing takes. You're talking about 65 amps here. Those of you who don't know, this thing has a adjustable circuit breaker up to 65 amps. It also has the ability to change the switch from a latch mode, momentary mode, and also a pulse mode as well. LED voltage drop. So 0.5 volts of voltage drop will turn on that LED, and I can set it to less or more. You've got min-max voltmeter mode. You got min-max ohm meter mode. You've got injector mode, which is pretty nice. You got duty cycle, pulse width positive, pulse width negative, and a counter. You got an adjustable voltage reference. You can inject as much voltage reference as you want. Not only that, it'll show whether it is short-circuited to earth or not. You can save your preferences as well. And you got the Power Plus mode, which allows for amperage, RMS, plus, min, and max, which is great for parasitic draw testing. And it is almost my go-to. It is a toss-up between an amp clamp on a scope and this. This is great for intermittent draws that are happening overnight. You leave this tool overnight and there's no limit to how much time it'll be on. There's no battery life, none of that stuff. It's hooked up to the battery and it's not counting the draw of the tool as part of the current draw of the vehicle. One of the things I don't like, this is my second unit. The first unit, it goes crazy. It goes automatically into frequency mode and it doesn't let me use the tool, which is not good for me, obviously. This has an adjustable circuit breaker where you can set it up anywhere between 2 amps and 65 amps, and it's pretty good for finding short circuits, which is not really an issue. A lot of people might think that that's an issue, but electricity flows in the path of least resistance. If you have a short circuit coming down a line and on one side you have the load, let's say a headlight bulb, and on the other side you have a short circuit to ground, electricity is going to choose to go to the short, which is why your fuse is blowing. So if any of you are worried that that might be a concern, it truly isn't. This hook also includes a relay tester, which quickly will test any relay out there, and you are not forced to put a relay into a certain receptacle that doesn't belong. For example, the usual orientation of a relay is that the two parallel prongs are the control side and the one that is perpendicular to each other is the load side. And BMW doesn't work that way. If you get one of those green BMW relays, you are going to mess something up if you do it that way, or if you test that relay that way, because that rule of thumb does not apply to that relay, which is obviously one of the shortcomings of those tools that you see that have receptacles built into them for you to insert the relays into in order to test them. Moving on to the Power Probe 4, which I think may be my favorite, but there are some caveats. It is very straightforward. One of the advantages that this has over the hook is not only its size, but its response time. It responds incredibly fast. So at the moment I have one wire hooked up, piggybacked to both of our probes here, right? And I'm gonna try ground first, and you will see the difference in response times between both probes. Ground is usually not the issue. Let's go to power. And that, my friends, is one of the biggest reasons why the hook didn't take off as well as it should. And it is also one of the reasons why I prefer using the 4 for most testing and the hook for more in-depth stuff. This is in no way putting down the hook, because this is a killer tool in the right hands. But for everyday stuff, this tool is the workhorse. That makes the Power Probe 4 my favorite electrical testing tool. One of the things I don't like about it is that this head piece right here comes off. And obviously that's after a long time and heavy usage. I've gone through several of these, but I like them so much that I just buy another. Power Probe, I believe, has recognized this issue and has fixed it since. I've had this one for a good while and it doesn't happen anymore. Another thing is that this lid, it tends to break right where those screws hold down this lid. Not a huge deal. Sometimes the fuse comes loose a bit and you'll get like that circuit breaker resetting message all the time. You gotta push it back in, but not too bad. It's got a replaceable switch as per usual with the 3, and it has served me pretty well so far. Let's go ahead and move on to my favorite repair tool. Let's face it, there's no way I could go through all of these. We got the M18 3/8 inch, M18 1/2 inch, M12 3/8. We got the M12 1/4 inch. We've got the M12 hex, 1/4 inch impact. We've got the 3/8 electric ratchet, the 1/4 inch electric ratchet, the high speed 3/8 electric ratchet, and the extended reach 1/4 inch electric ratchet. Before anybody jumps on the bandwagon, I am not sponsored by Milwaukee. As cool as it would be, I am just not. But when the tools get the job done, I gotta keep buying them. And there is a favorite out of all of these. Time and time again, I gotta send this one in for repairs. It is a 3/8 electric ratchet, and I used it a lot. This was my first Milwaukee tool ever, and it has been through hell and back. But I recently heard that there was an upgrade, and it is the high-speed 3/8 electric ratchet, and it is my favorite tool out of all of these. I'm gonna just cut to the chase because, you know, am I gonna go through a list of features? Definitely not. Sure, it's nice to have extended reach, but when your 3/8 is faster than your 1/4 inch, that tells you a lot. And for comparison, we've got the predecessor and the successor here. I mean, this thing is doing pretty fast. And this one's got a full charge as well. I think it's definitely the upgrade. This one is by far my favorite and most used tool. I literally just got it when I did the Mercedes-Benz alternator video. That was brand spanking new. I was just using this, and you could see how fast it moves in there. And it's already got a couple of battle scars, and I gotta say, I'm impressed with this. All the other tools, they get some usage, you know, like this one, it's more like if I'm using one socket for one car and then another socket for another car, I'm just taking two different tools to do two different cars at that point. But this one is definitely my favorite. If you've looked at this in the tool trucks or wherever, what have you, Home Depot, wherever they sell these, and you're considering it, this is the high-speed ratchet. It is pretty good. I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but you can zoom in nowadays on YouTube if you didn't know that. Pinch to zoom. Great freaking ratchet. And Milwaukee, if you're watching, what's up? Next on our list are scan tools. This is not code readers. A code reader, for example, is like one of these cheap old code readers that will only read maybe 1, 2, or 3 modules in the entire vehicle, even though that vehicle could have upwards of 70 modules. We have a no-show. The Autel decided not to show up. I had to send it out for warranty repairs. And a lot of people on social media, not on YouTube necessarily, know that I had to send out the Autel before for repairs, and it took 6 months to get it back. I had to basically choke hold my way to the top to find who is the head honcho responsible for getting my tool out of their repair facility. And once I found them, I shared a few choice words and they decided to cooperate. I'm just kidding, they were pretty cool about it. But 6 months, that's way too much. So real quick, we'll go through the list. We've got the Phoenix Plus, the Phoenix Max, the Autel IM608 that is currently wounded and awaiting repairs, the Autologic Drive Pro, and the iScan from Autoland. One of these has made its way to being my favorite. The Phoenix Plus is crazy fast, but it is limited in functionality. The Autel IM608 has actually gotten a little slower since they have announced the pre-order of their new IM608 coming out pretty soon. I guess they're taking one out of Apple's playbook. The Phoenix Max has been my daily driver and has come through a lot actually. There are some quirks about it, but nothing that I can't reach out to the company and they will not remedy. The Ninja Box is a great tool, but it is a bit limited compared to the Autel, which is almost a dedicated locksmith tool. The wheel chuck, the Autologic over here, it's okay. I don't use it much, but it does some things that other scan tools can't do. Pretty much any Jaguar stuff, you're gonna want to go to the Drive Pro before going to any of these other ones, just to put it out there, just to be honest. Their tech support does come through sometimes, but as I've stated before in the Scan Tool Shootout, there are a lot of things I don't like about it, but there are some things that they just do better than the rest. It is definitely not on the top of my list. I don't own this tool. This is a shop tool, and I'm pretty sure my shop owner is gonna be like, what the hell, man? Just being honest, and it's just not my go-to tool. The iScan. This is still regarded to me as a very powerful tool. It doesn't look like much if you look at the screen size. If we're going by screen sizes here, you're not going to be impressed. But the functionality that this tool brings is pretty strong, and their tech support is second to none. They are constantly updating and innovating, so be sure to stick around and see what they do next. And for the elephant in the room, the Autel IM608, which is not present and able to defend itself, aside from its constant need for repairs. It is a great tool. It was my daily driver. That was my first personal scan tool. It has a special place in my heart. But man, like I can't get over it. Like I have to send it in all the time at this point. And if you don't stay on top of those guys, like they'll take another 6 months to get that tool back to you. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's my face. But this scan tool right here has become my favorite. The top-down Phoenix Max, as you can see, it's pretty powerful with programming. It has some drawbacks, but I go ahead and give feedback and they fix it usually. And it's like look at this thing. It's got a docking station. The IM608 doesn't have a docking station. This thing's huge. I freaking love it. We're not going by screen sizes here. Size doesn't matter in this point. For what it's worth, it's a very strong tool. You can do split screen with the tool and a browser, so you could be doing your DVI at the same time. I mean, it's strong. It's very strong. Something you can't do with any of these tools. This one I haven't tried to get on this one, but it has a lot of stuff that is just above and beyond the rest. So this wins, and we fixed a lot of cars together. Some drawbacks though. Every now and then you want to use the programmer. It's got like this Ethernet connection issue. It kicks you out. They're still working on it. We're gonna keep giving them feedback on it, but that's something that they haven't worked out yet, and it can get a little frustrating. But I know they're really pushing. They're really pushing hard to make things happen. And this one has limited functionality in the sense of calibrations. Certain things are just not there. The iScan, I really wish that they would stop putting the megapascals and all that stuff. Just put grams per second, put PSI. I don't want to do math when I'm looking at live data on the spot, doing a freaking volumetric efficiency test in the street. And same thing with the AutoLogic. Stop putting megapascals and hectopascals and all that crap. Nobody cares about that. I want to see PSI. So in a nutshell, the pros are Phoenix Plus, quick grab and go, quick pre-scans, post-scans, all that good stuff, in and out. Phoenix Max, we got Euro programming, Audi, Mercedes-Benz especially. We've got some top-down Ninja Box programming going on, resetting modules and whatnot. And we got the DOIP VCI. Well, they call it the MDCI. The Autel locksmithing tool. You got keys, pins, EEPROM stuff, cloning, all that good stuff. The AutoLogic, you got Jaguar, you got older vehicles. That's pretty much it. iScan is programming galore, coding, calibrations, and their tech support through SOD, where you can use this tool as an interface that will literally mimic or emulate the factory interface, and none the wiser. Cons are, you're not getting any programming out of this. You're not getting too much calibration out of this, coding and all that good stuff. When it comes to deep diving, this is not it for you. This is just shallow waters here. The Autel is, well, you're gonna send it in for repairs like half the time. So you're gonna pay for a warranty, lose 6 months out of it, and then you still have to pay the same price for the whole thing. The Phoenix Max, well, you're not getting much BMW stuff going on in there, as I've noticed. BMW is not its strong spot, whereas iScan is crazy strong with BMW. AutoLogic, the cons are, well, it doesn't do anything great aside from Jaguar and Range Rover, in my opinion. And as soon as you stop paying that subscription, that thing's a brick. So you have to pay their subscription in order to get online, to even sign into the tool. And if you don't pay that subscription, that thing's a brick, where any of these tools will still function even if you don't pay the subscription. So that's, I mean, that's just a pretty big con in my book. The con with the iScan is the diagnosing with it. Like for me, it's not strong to diagnose with, but programming, coding, calibrations, tech support, and I mean tech support as in like when there's something that you can't natively do programming wise, like say Mercedes, you can use SOD and they will use their Zentry in order to program the vehicle and whatnot. So, but diagnosis itself, it's, for me, it's not strong just because of live data. That, in full disclosure, is just the live data values and the way they do things there. But it's pretty fast. Like, it is a pretty crazy fast responsive tool. At the top of this video, we've got lighting. I know I have a problem. I don't need you to remind me. Out of all of these, one really stands out. They are all great lights, but only one can rule as king, and that is the Milwaukee headlamp. This is 600 lumens. It's supposed to be a hard hat setup, but I removed the top strap and turned it into a regular old headlamp, and it's done very well for me. It is plenty bright. It doesn't look like much here and it's low on battery, but it does have a great field of view, and Milwaukee's not doing me any favors by dying on me while filming. So I got a second one. It doesn't look crazy good here because I got so much light already in the shop, but this is one of the best lights, headlamps I've had, and I've gone through plenty. I mean plenty. It doesn't do justice. It's 600 lumens, but it's got the true view, right? And I really believe in that. It looks good. It's a good light temperature. There's a lot of other very honorable mentions, like the Streamlight Wedge. This is my go-to everyday in the pocket light, and it has a like hyper mode, but look at how cool that looks. It's a very bluish look as opposed to the Milwaukee version, where it's a nice warm color, and I really like that a lot actually. And you can focus this one as well if you'd like, but most of the camera shots that I have, I actually use this on the dark areas. You guys never noticed it, but it's actually been in many videos as the light source for those videos. Some that are not so good, this one right here. I know I got a lot of good things to say about Milwaukee, but this one is one of their like not so great ones. It's very limited in use, like in functionality for me. It's not very practical. There's one magnet here that's very weak. If you were to put it anywhere that you might actually need it, it just falls, and it uses the same batteries as the other one, which is it's one of the things I like. You can swap out these batteries real fast, no problem. And one of the things you're gonna want to get if you're into these lights is a charger. And I think Cornwell stole my idea, because literally I bought this. This is meant to charge your phone and things like that, but I bought this to charge the batteries and swap them in and out and all that. But now they're selling a whole bundle all together for that. These are my old headlamps. I took the straps off, but this is my old one. This battery is dead already, and this is what I used to work with. Just so you can see, if you look at the Milwaukee one, and of course I grabbed the dead one. If you look at the Milwaukee one compared to the Cornwell one, it's just like a wider flood. It looks so good, in my opinion. Anyway, one of the things I didn't like about this is that it slowly would die. It would get dimmer and dimmer and dimmer until it finally dies, where this one would give me an indicator, and it would, you know, blink like you saw earlier before it dies, which is pretty nice. It blinks 3 times the first couple of times, and then the fourth, well, the last set of blinks is going to be 4 blinks, and then it just really dies. Another honorable mention is the Streamlight Stinger 2020, I want to say. Wow, time flies. This thing is a beast. I think you guys seen this in the videos that I made with the smoke machine. This thing is pretty great to use with the smoke machine. Of course, everyone knows this one, the Streamlight Stylus Pro. It's notorious for having, when you drop it, it flickers and it has issues there, but it is my backup. It is a good flashlight nonetheless. You can double tap it to give it the hyper mode, so to speak. And we got the Streamlight Bear Trap. This thing's a beast. I'm really impressed with this one. It lasts forever. And it's a pretty good light, and it gives you the option of using either a floodlight or a focused beam. I don't even remember how to change between them. There you go. You got the focused beam right there. I only keep it on a flood, that's why I don't really worry about that. But there's the nice cool flood there. It is bluish. I err to the warmer side. I like it warmer. These are some UV lights. Got the UV phaser, black, rechargeable, pretty strong. This was my first UV light, HQRP. You could probably find that online still. I don't know. but I liked it a lot. It's got a weak battery right now, but it was my first one, and you never really forget, right? And we got the Cornwell, the very thin profile lights. I used to have the Harbor Freight ones. If you guys have seen older videos, you can see the Harbor Freight one. I got rid of those. They started having the battery issues, and I stopped caring to replace the batteries. Got the underhood light from Milwaukee. Great light. It's got that true view again. I just love the way it looks. And then this was my first underhood light. You guys haven't seen this one unless you watch my very first video, the Jeep engine replacement time lapse. This is the light that I used in order to film that one, and this is my first underhood light. I actually had a magnet here, and I would use the magnet, and I would use some hooks also if it was an aluminum hood. This is an outdoor light, and it is crazy freaking bright, and it doesn't get warm at all. It never gets warm. I love this thing. I'll never throw it away. Let me see who makes it. I got a sweet freaking deal on this thing. It's supposed to be hundreds, but now I found it for like $50. It's Larson Electronics, model LEDWP-600E-COB. It's supposed to be outside, and it's a 60 watt for this crazy freaking impressive lamp. There's no affiliation. I'm not speaking all this good stuff because of anything like that. It's literally just crazy impressive, and it usually comes with a little hood too. Crazy good freaking light. I was gonna have it here on my for this area right here, right? Check that out. I was gonna have it here, but then I got this Harbor Freight light here, and it does pretty well, and it's warmer. I like it. It does pretty well. Anyway, that about wraps up this video. We're gonna go ahead and call it a day. It took a while to film this video. I didn't know it would take this long, but I hope you all enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it myself. I appreciate you all for taking the time to watch. And now the next door steel factory is starting to make that noise, so that's my cue. I gotta go. Thank you all again for taking the time to watch. I really appreciate you all. Be sure to leave a comment if you'd like to see any more shootouts. Please let me know. There was some that I really wanted to do, like bore scopes, power supplies. You guys already saw power supplies. There are some other items that maybe we could start doing shootouts with, and if that's what you're interested in, be sure to let me know in the comment section, and I'll go ahead and start including those videos. Thanks a lot. Take care. Till next time.